Your worst friend, or your best friend, or your worst enemy, or call somebody you don't even know. Say, hey, Uncle Rich is on. You're not supposed to be calling me now. All right, now anyway, tonight we're going to do a show. Who the hell's calling me? Anyway, tonight we're going to do a show, and I have a little problem pronouncing the name of it. So anyway, hopefully whoever's smart and who knows me, they would think that 7 o'clock they don't call me. But anyway, so tonight we're going to talk about language, and we're going to start the show off with a little video from a movie that I think everybody's seen and enjoyed. It's from My Cousin Vinny. And right now we're going to listen to Joe Pesci. So when we're ready.
They was kind of walking toward me when they entered the store.
And when they left, what angle was your point of view?
They was kind of walking away from me.
So would you say you got a better shot at them going in and not so much coming out?
You could say that.
I did say that. Would you say that?
Yeah.
Is it possible the two youths...
The two what? What was that word?
What word?
Two what?
What?
Did you say youths?
Yeah, two youths.
What is a youth?
Oh, excuse me, Your Honor. Two youths. Is it possible the two defendants...
I don't know what the problem is. I understood every word that Joe Pesci said. There was no confusion with me. And you see, when it comes to language and the way you pronounce things, it's all relative on where you were born, where you grew up. You know, I grew up in New York. So trust me, I understood every word he was saying. Now, when I was growing up in New York, my buddy, they were the only Chinese family in town. They owned a restaurant. And every time one of their dishwashers would get deported, they asked me if I wanted to work. Well, when it comes to Chinese people can't say the letter R. They just can't say it. So my name being Rich, every time I would talk to them, they'd say, okay, Lich. Chef, my name is Rich. Okay, Lich. One day I couldn't work, and I had a buddy of mine come in. His name happened to be Bruce. So I introduced him to the chef, and the chef goes, okay, Bruce. So as you could see, the point that I'm trying to get at, it's the way you pronounce things. Now, if you lived in Massachusetts, you never say your R's. In Massachusetts, there are no R's. I lived there for 2 years, trust me. If you want to go to a bar in Massachusetts, there are none. You have to go to a bar. As a matter of fact, you know, like when you were a kid and you had the alphabet up on the wall, you know, A, B, C, D. In Massachusetts, the way it goes, it's LMNOP, Q, blank, STU. There's no R. But see, the people accept this, and this is the way they you know, this is just the way people speak. Now, my grandparents came over from Germany, and my grandfather was proud to be an American, but he lacked proper English. So he had to go to night school. And my mother would tell me how he struggled with the language because, you know, English is really a tough one. But she would tell me, and what they would always say to him was, you have to sound out your words. So he would go by a hospital or something like that. He would look at the sun and he would go, oh, look, emergency. No, Grandpa, it's emergency. But to him, we said emergency. Can you imagine if you were at the mall and all of a sudden somebody starts yelling, emergency, emergency? You'd think, what the hell is that guy talking about? What is that, a new fashion shop that opened up by Sears? So it's the way you say things. Another perfect example of getting back to the movie, My Cousin Vinny. When the judge, they were talking about Ralph Macchio, and they asked him, they said, did you shoot the clerk? And Ralph Macchio said, I shot the clerk? In a questioning type, I shot the clerk? And in court, the sheriff said, so I asked him again, did you shoot the clerk? And again, he said, I shot the clerk. So once again, it's the way we say things and the way. So my mother always used to tell me, as I was growing up, she used to say, Rich, it's very important to enunciate your syllables. So whenever I'm talking to somebody, I'm very careful that I get my syllables right, okay? Now, hold on, folks. The control room is talking to me, and the control room is telling me it's not pronounced syllables. It's what? It's pronounced syllables? No. How could it be pronounced syllables? If it was syllables, it would start with a C, wouldn't it? It doesn't. It starts with an S, so it's syllables, okay? So anyway, we want to make sure that we get this. All right, guys, listen. I just wanted to have some fun, and it's obvious, we did, because it is syllables, and it's the way you say things. And one of my other favorite sayings around here is, and I really can't say it on the air, because, the first part of the saying is a little risque, but if you think of Mitts and Giggles, and if you just take out the first part and put an S, you'll get an idea what I'm talking about. But anyway, getting back to the way people say things, like some people, like my wife, for instance, she has a terrible time saying the word linoleum. See, I don't have a problem saying it, but she does. But you see, other people also have problems. Like some people might refer to aluminum as aluminium. So somebody says, well, I'm going to fix the aluminium on your house. He said, don't you touch my house. Or how about one day I'm at a store, I'm at a coffee shop, and there's an English lady, and she's talking to her child, and she's trying to get her child to take vitamins. I'm saying, what are vitamins? I never heard, are they some kind of croissant? Is it what's a vitamin? Well, a vitamin's a vitamin if you're from England. So it's the way we pronounce things. Now, I have a problem with the word, and I'm going to show you because I have a problem with it, with the word mitts. Mitts, I have a problem saying mitts. So when you hear me say mitts, I really mean what's written here, okay? Now, I'm going to put this with the bear because today's show is on myths and legends. We're not going to talk about Bigfoot, although I heard there was a sighting recently in Rhode Island. One day I'm watching the National Geographic Channel, and they're looking for Sasquatch in Rhode Island. And the people are going around with, if I was this is where I'd live. I'd say, what are you, nuts? It's the same guys with the UFOs, Oh, we got a call. So wait a minute. Okay, hold on. Hello?
Rich,
I'm listening.
this is your fourth grade teacher. This is your fourth grade teacher, Miss Crabtree. I mean, I sound like Mr. Crabtree now, but
I thought you were Miss
a long story.
I thought you were Miss McGillicuddy.
No, this is your fourth grade teacher, Miss Crabtree. And let me tell you something. It's enunciate, ENUNCIA, like the agency, TE, not ANNUN. Now, we went over this very clearly in 4th grade. As a matter of fact, it was about April. Oh, you know what? I think you were out for the whole month of April.
I missed 4th grade.
I might have to let you off on that one, but Rich, I was your 4th grade teacher, and I've got to correct you on that.
Well, 4th grade, that was the toughest 3 years of my life. All right, listen, I got to cut you off because we want to move ahead now. We're going to, generally what we like to do is when we start the show is I like to try to tell you what we're going to get into. And I just have a problem with, with some speech, and most people do, So, but what we want to deal with today is we're going to start off with a video, another comedy by Lewis Black, and it's on creationism. And one of the reasons, why I kind of pick on the creationists is because I think you have to deal with logic and whenever you're dealing. But anyway, we're going to laugh a little bit. And then we're going to listen to the voice of reason. Now, last week, I introduced you to Richard Dawkins. He wrote The God Delusions. We're going to listen to him again. And then we're going to go, and these are all YouTube videos. So, I mean, if you want to watch the entire movies, you can. But then we're going to go to a video called Jesus Camp, and how Jesus Camp divides this country. And when you see the child abuse and what they put these kids through, it's sick. It's sick. All right. I'd like to get the phone, but, well, okay. So anyway, after that, we have another video, and it's going to be called Raising a Monster. And we're going to watch that. And finally, we're going to watch another video by Penn Jillette. And, most people will think of Penn Jillette as a magician. But I want to tell you, he's a very bright guy, a very sincere guy. And when you hear what he has to say about the Bible, you're going to have to tend to agree with him. All right, so anyway, we're going to forge ahead now. We're going to play this video, Creationism by Lawrence Black. Judy, hit it.
Darwin's book that introduced the theory of survival of the fittest. Heck, I've even pretended to read it. But did you know there's an equally important body of work supporting creationism? For starters, there's this textbook, Of Pandas and People. It's a scientific defense of the theory of intelligent design, and it's very concise. They're blinding you with not science. Now, despite its adorable cover, Pandas and People isn't written for kids. For little creationists, there's D is for dinosaur, which teaches kids that people and dinosaurs once lived together in harmony. Because prior to original sin, all dinosaurs were vegetarians. Makes sense, especially when you look at this early dino skeleton. Those 80 dagger-shaped teeth and huge claws were perfect for chasing down and killing any plants that tried to run away. Scientific theory is based on observations made in the real world. Charles Darwin based his studies on species in the Galapagos Islands. Creationism has its own hotspot, the Grand Canyon, which lecturer Ken Ham says is proof of the biblical flood.
When you took your children to the Grand Canyon and stood on the edge of the Grand Canyon, dads, did you teach them the true message of the Grand Canyon? It's a memorial of the fact that you are sinners and we are sinners, and our sin brought death and judgment from a holy God, and man rebelled against God again, and so God came and judged him with a flood. Now get in the car, kids! If we hurry, we can still sacrifice your little sister at the Hoover Dam! Ken Ham is no Charles Darwin. He's not the only public face of creationism. Meet Dr. Ken Hovind, who uses a personal analogy to prove the creationist tenet that life is so complex it could only have been designed by a higher power.
I have a Casio Databank stopwatch. It holds 300 phone numbers. It's a calculator, a stopwatch, an alarm clock, and a countdown timer. I was in Japan only one time, but I never did see the guy who made the Casio Databank stopwatch. But I suspect there is a guy who made it.
Now, let me put it another way. It's like when you hear Dr. Hovind, you suspect there's an actual doctoral degree. Not, say, a certificate in Christian education from Patriot Bible University. Oh, yes, Patriot Bible University. I remember when they played the Bald Eagle College apple pies in the Uncle Sam Jesus Bowl. No fighting redundancies. Now, what do I think after looking at all this evidence? Well, let me put it this way. The scientific method has taken us pretty far. We've cured diseases, sent people to the moon, given erections where before there were none. I like science, but religion has also inspired man to do some pretty great things. The problem is when you try too hard to apply science to religion, both come off looking ridiculous. John?
Louis Black. We'll be right back.
I mean, lied to you about the dinosaurs.
There you go. I mean, Louis Black, I mean, he nailed it, you know? And what we have to start doing is we have to start living in the real world. I mean, we can't tell our children that the world is less than 10,000 years old. I mean, you know, if you're going to tell them that, and if they're going to listen to you, and if that's going to be their final answer on Jeopardy, guess what? Your kids are going to lose. We have to be honest with them. All right? We have to start listening. As a matter of fact, the next video is called The Voice of Reason. And it's from Richard Dawkins, who we watched last week. Richard Dawkins spoke with Ted Haggard. And you saw how vehement Ted Haggard was and how he kicked Richard Dawkins off his property and how he ended up looking like a monkey. Why? Because he was involved with drugs and he was having an affair with a gay guy, which is totally against the Bible and totally against religion and totally against everything. And what are all those people going to do that were sitting in that church? Oh, now what are they doing? Are they throwing stones at this guy? I tell you, I would. If somebody fed me a crock of bull like this guy did. And anyway, we're going to go to the video now before I get too excited. And this is going to be Richard Dawkins with The Voice of Reason. Judy?
We have the privilege of being in this universe for a few decades, and during that time it is an enormous privilege to be able to understand something about the universe in which we live, why we're here, why we were ever born, where we come from. And I think that is such a wonderful thing to be able to do that I am hostile, I can get angry about competing accounts which seem to me to not encourage that kind of questioning, but instead to say, this is how it is, it's all written in the Holy Book, it was written 2,000 years ago, and that's the end of it. I think that deprives people. I think that is such a belittling, a demeaning view of the universe, and I think it's tragic that children are brought up with that when they could be brought up in a more open-minded way. So that's one reason for the anger. The other reason it is that I do think that faith, unsupported by evidence, is a lethal weapon. Well, it doesn't have to be, of course it doesn't have to be, but it can be. It's a weapon because possibly unscrupulous people can get hold of often young men and use them as weapons, use them as human bombs. The only reason they can be deployed as human bombs is that they have been brought up from childhood onwards to believe implicitly, without question, that whatever the particular religion is, the details don't matter. The The point is that they do believe that it is the will of God that they should detonate themselves and blow up a busload of people or blow up a skyscraper in New York. I don't think that any kind of reasoned argument would do that to people. And so I believe that religion, religious faith, is an enormously powerful psychological weapon. It isn't always used for the bad, of course, but the fact that it can be used for the bad makes me want to cut it off at the roots, and at very least to stop the inculcation into children of the idea that there is something virtuous in faith. I'm very concerned with the way children coming into the world innocent and knowing nothing are taken over by the religion of whatever culture they happen to be born into. It doesn't happen to everybody, but it's very common. And so you see children being labeled. This is a Catholic child, this is a Protestant child. I would much rather say this is a child. Perhaps you could say this is a child of Catholic parents, or this is a child of Protestant parents. But to tie a label around a tiny child, this is a Catholic child, when the child is clearly too young to know what it thinks about the transubstantiation, or whatever it is that differentiates Catholics from Protestants.
You know, I just don't, you know, it's hard for me to relate to that. And when I was a little kid, you know, I told everybody, I went to a parochial school. And to be quite honest, I'll never forget, you know, all the nuns that we had nuns with the full 9 yards. I mean, they were all black with the thing, with the big, with the rosary beads. And I'll never forget how proud one day, you know, the sister was out in the playground with the kids, and some of the girls were holding, they had a robe sash. And I said to her, I said, "Sister, can I hold your rosary beads?" And she said, "Of course." And that was the highlight of the day. And I felt so proud. And now I look at this and I say to myself, wow. I mean, the next clip that we're gonna show is about Jesus Camp. And I mean, this is some questionable stuff. And you know, what they're indoctrinating these kids. And as we go through the video, you know, you're gonna see, and you'll be able to, you make the decisions yourself. I'm just going to put this stuff out there for you. You guys make the decision, but you know, like the reason why we're here, we want to question everything, we want to look at everything. So Judy, when you're ready, we're ready.
We recoil in horror when we see the images from the Middle East of kids to whom talking is still a relatively new phenomenon, being flooded in religious beliefs, being told they may have to die like warriors for God, speaking in literal gibberish. Our third story in the countdown, it's terrorist indoctrination when we see it there. Here we call it Jesus Camp. Countdown's Monica Novotny explains. Good evening, Monica.
Keith, good evening. The filmmakers behind this documentary boiled down 300 hours of footage into a controversial 85 minutes, taking viewers inside a Bible camp where the next generation of God's army is in training. And Jesus Camp already has the 100 million American evangelical Christians split over the intersection of their religion, their politics, and their children.
Are you a part of it or not?
It's summer camp like you've never seen it. This evangelical conference for young children captured in the new documentary Jesus Camp, focusing on an American culture war and the training of a new generation of Christian soldiers.
I want to see young people who are as committed to the cause of Jesus Christ as the young people are to the cause of Islam. Because, excuse me, but we have the truth. Oh, we love you, Jesus. So
Pastor Becky Fisher leads the children at Devil's Lake, North Dakota, playing at war.
It's kind of being trained to be warriors, only in a much funner way.
Preaching in tongues and in tears. Praying for the president and for an end to abortion.
No more! No more!
But Fisher says the goal of this spiritual battle is not to attack the separation of church and state.
there are no Christians, and I know thousands of them, that are interested in establishing a theocracy in America.
And those presidential prayers?
Had this conference taken place during the Clinton administration, we would have been as obligated by Scripture to pray for him as we were to pray for President Bush.
Instead, Fisher says her work with these children is part of a growing evangelical youth movement designed simply to keep young born-again Christians active in the church as they grow older. But are they, as some critics charge, brainwashing impressionable, vulnerable young children with religious and political agendas?
Every parent brainwashes their kids with their own beliefs. So let's be fair.
A person's a person, no matter how small.
We never viewed what we were doing as political. And I am certainly not living out my political fantasies through the children that I minister to.
But I think people would say this is a voting bloc.
So they're going to be a voting bloc. Why is that scary?
Heidi and I definitely saw it as political activism, but they are sincere in believing what they're doing is being good Christians. I do believe that the leadership see what they're doing as political.
A belief reinforced by Pastor Ted Haggard, president of the National Association of Evangelicals, expressing pride in the expansion of the youth movement, offering perhaps the most candid and confident moment in Jesus Camp.
It's got enough growth to essentially sway every election. If the evangelicals vote, they determine the election. It's a fabulous life.
Pastor Haggard, who you just saw there, leads the largest evangelical group in America with some 30 million members. He agreed to be filmed for the project, but says now that he's not happy with the final product and is encouraging his followers not to see it. As for Pastor Fisher and her political concerns, I asked her how she would feel if any of these children grew up and chose to vote or work with political parties other than Republicans. And she says she'd have absolutely no problem with that she just wants to help them be good Christians regardless of their personal political views. If you're curious, Jesus Camp opens in major cities tomorrow and then throughout the country next Friday.
Every parent brainwashes their children, meaning her parents brainwashed her. Countdown's Monica Novotny. Great, thanks.
Now, isn't that scary? They're going to be a voting bloc. These are the people that are going to pick future presidents. I mean, you know, and you see what these poor kids, you know, and what they don't. And I tell you, if you watch the whole movie, and like I said, it's on YouTube, you'll get sick. You'll get sick because, you know, why would you want to do this to a kid? You know, let kids grow up. Let them be kids. When the time comes, let them make a decision. But let them make their own decisions. You know, too many times we make associations. You know, you see parents that are Roman Catholic, or they could be Jewish, doesn't matter what they are. You automatically make the assumption that the children are the same thing. You know, if they're Republicans, if the parents are Republicans, you don't say the kids are conservative. No. You let him grow up, you let him, but what we do is with the kids, we indoctrinate them from the time they're born. And believe me, you know, I mean, I went through everything, through the baptism. My kids are baptized, the community, the whole thing. And it finally gets to the point where you have to say, hey, stop. Let's be real about this. Let's be honest with each other. Let's get rid of the myths and the legends. Let's stop believing in stuff that doesn't exist. If I told you I found great comfort in the spaghetti monster, you'd think I was nuts, wouldn't you? Of course you would. Why? Because there's no way I could prove he existed. But yet when people do this, we just call them Catholics. Why? Why is that? And then you got people that play the faith card. You can't say anything about me and my religion. Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Because as we heard in the video, you guys are a voting bloc. And we want you to vote with your heads. We want you to ask questions. We don't want you to take things on faith and just believe them. Why? Well, because we don't know any better, so it's a default mechanism. All right, now I'm really, really going to start to ruffle your feathers, because we're going to show how being a creationist and homeschooling your kid is really detrimental to their well-being and actually to the well-being of the community. When you watch this, once again, don't throw stones, but we're gonna, you'll see, we have to make things happen. We have to make changes. Judy, it's all you, babe.
Is this true? Is this scientific? Or is it just based on a belief?
Levi! Come here. I need to be near you. All right, let's go over some things. One popular thing to do in American politics is to note that the summers in the United States over the past few years have been very warm. As a result, global warming must be real. What's wrong with this reasoning?
It's only gone up 0.6 degrees.
Yeah, it's not really a big problem, is it?
No. I don't think that it's going to hurt us.
It's a huge political issue, global warming is, and that's why it's really important for you to understand.
Is evolution too?
Not really.
Creationism?
It's becoming one now. What if you had to go to a school where the teacher said creationism is stupid, and you're stupid if you believe in it?
I think they should, yeah.
Well, or what if you had to go to a school where your teacher said evolution is stupid, and you're stupid if you believe in it?
I wouldn't mind that.
You wouldn't mind it. If you look at creationism, you realize it's the only possible answer to all the questions.
That's exactly what Dad said.
Mm-hmm. It's the only possible answer to all the questions.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Did you get to the part on here where it says that science doesn't prove anything? And it's really interesting when you look at it that way.
It is.
It is.
All right.
All right.
I think personally that Galileo made the right choice by giving up science for Christ.
God didn't say have children and give my kids to someone else for 8 hours a day. And if I can homeschool them as well as the school can public school them, why would I send them somewhere else for 8 hours a day? Our nation was founded on Judeo-Christian values.
Let me say something about Harry Potter. Warlocks are enemies of God. I don't care what kind of hero they are. They're an enemy of God. And had it been in the Old Testament, Harry Potter would have been put to death.
Amen.
We know when things started changing. You know, prayer got taken out of school, and the schools start falling apart. And now the rest of us are going, wait a minute, where is my country? Our firm belief is there are two kinds of people in the world. People who love Jesus and people who don't. And I want my kids to grow up knowing, you know what, it's a good thing to be a Christian.
Get credit. Promoted.
Yeah, Matthew Spalding, our guest.
Tomorrow, Glenn Thomas gives us a... Why are kids taught that global warming doesn't exist?
Our president is still telling Americans that we should teach creationism in our schools, that we should teach it right alongside with evolution. In the end, it's going to come like a thief in the night. There's this slow chipping away at the separation between church and state.
Wash your hands. Father, we just wash them with the water of your word. We say no more, devil, no more. Say it, boys and girls, in the name of Jesus.
You know, the flag, the Bible, you know, wrap yourself in the flag while you're holding the Bible, screaming at the gays and yelling at everything else. I mean, this is, to think that this kid is going to go through life. And what does he do? Now, you know, most of the creationists believe that the world is less than 10,000 years old. How in the world can you possibly watch the Science Channel or National Geographic, or when they come on and they say, yeah, the universe is 13 billion years, what do? Is everybody else wrong and what your mother told you is right? I mean, why would you want to do that? I mean, would you intentionally tell your children the wrong thing because it fits your dogma or whatever else, you know, your political beliefs? I mean, you know, would you tell your kids that, you know, 2 + 2 = 5? You know, honey, I want you to believe 2 and 2 = 5. Well, guess what? She can believe that, but it ain't the truth. So let's start telling them the truth. All right, now, you know, I have an old saying, everything is relative. And it's so true. I mean, you know, when you find yourself in situations, especially family situations, everybody, it's all going to be relative. So if somebody's got the wrong idea from the get-go, guess what? Everybody's got the wrong idea. Now, we're going to move on to the Word of God, the Bible. You know, the one thing when I was growing up that we never did, We never, when I say never, I don't mean never, I mean never. We never read the Bible. We read passages from the Bible. We read, but we never read the Bible. And why? Because if we really read the Bible, I don't think we'd be happy Christians anymore. And I'll never forget one time with one of the nuns. They were talking about slavery, and we're going to do a video by Penn Jillette, and he talks about slavery in the Bible. And I'll never forget, I said to one of the nuns, I said, you know, sister, I said, in the Bible, it teaches you that, you know, that you can have slaves. And this was at the time, I graduated grammar school in '69. No, I'm sorry, that was high school, in '66. So this was right around the time that we had the major civil rights movement with Dr. Martin Luther King. I mean, the whole this was on everybody. This was on the front burner, civil rights. And I'll never forget talking to the nun, and I said to her, you know, I said, sister, in the Bible, you know, they condone slavery. And she goes, oh, no, Rich, no. They aren't slaves, they're servants. I said, oh, sir, oh. So right away, I thought of the guy that you see on the Jeeves, you know, with the tuxedo suit, you know, with the patent leather shoes, you know, with the beautiful, and he's got the towel with the tray, and the tray is full of a nice drink full of ice, and he's bringing it to his master. And then I said to myself, you know what? Something's fishy here. They didn't have ice back then. So the whole thing, I mean, this whole religion thing, why didn't the sister just say, yeah, you know, Rich, we got it wrong. The Bible did condone slavery, but you know what? That's why we're getting rid of this garbage. Because we can't believe in a book where half of it's good and the other half is bad. So which half do you want to read, the happy half or the bad half? You know? And the thing is, let's be honest with each other. All right, now, in the last video, Penn Jillette he's gonna slap you. And I won't use the other word I wanted to use, but I'm telling you, this is gonna be a wake-up call. So Judy, when you're ready, roll it.
In my church group in Greenfield, Massachusetts, at the age of about 16 or 17, I had made a deal with my mom and dad. I was very, very close to my mom and dad. I'm a real mama's boy, and got along with them my whole life, hardly even rough periods. And they went to the Congregationalist Church, the Church of the Covered Dish Supper, in Greenfield, Massachusetts. Massachusetts is an old enough state that you could not charter a town without having a Congregationalist church. And this was the first one in our town. I mean, from back 200 years ago. And I made a deal with my mom and dad that I wouldn't have to go to church services Sunday morning if I went to youth group Sunday night. So we had a pastor, that minister at that church that was fairly hip. You know, he's trying to deal with the children, play a Jim Morrison song once in a while, you know, play the Beatles, far out. And he sincerely wanted us to do some inquiry into theological questions. And I took it very seriously. I may have been the only one in the youth group that did take it seriously. And I read the Bible cover to cover. And I think that anyone who is thinking about maybe being an atheist, if you read the Bible or the Quran or the Torah cover to cover, I believe you will emerge from that as an atheist. I mean, you can read The God Delusion by Richard Dawkins. You can read God Is Not Great by Hitchens. But the Bible itself will turn you atheist faster than anything. I think because what we get told about the Bible is a lot of picking and choosing. When you see Lot's daughter gang raped and beaten, and the Lord being okay with that. When you actually read about Abraham being willing to kill his son, when you actually read that, when you read the insanity of the talking snake, when you read the hostility towards homosexuals, towards women, the celebration of slavery, when you read in context that thou shalt not kill means only in your own tribe. I mean, there's no hint that it means humanity in general, that there's no sense of a shared humanity. It's all tribal. When you see a God that is jealous and insecure, when you see that there's contradictions that show that it was clearly written hundreds of years after the supposed fact and full of contradictions, I think that anybody, it's like reading the Constitution of the United States of America. It's in English. You don't need someone to hold your hand. Just pick it up and read it. Just read what the First Amendment says, and then read what the Bible says. Going back to the source material is always the best. When someone's trying to interpret something for you, they always have an agenda. So I read the Bible, and then I read, Bertrand Russell, and I read a lot of other stuff, because in the Greenfield Public Library, the 900s of the Dewey Decimal System, I'm one of the few people that still remembers it, the 900s are theology, and they're only about this long. I don't know if that's all on camera. They're only about this long. The one-armed guy who caught a fish this big. They're only about this long, and so I read a lot of them. And I started going into class, and to his credit, the pastor, who was a wonderful man, would let me talk to him about this stuff. And finally, after, I don't know, it's so long ago, but after months of this platonic questioning every night at youth group, the minister called my mom and dad and said, I think maybe Penn should stop coming to youth group. He's no longer learning about the Bible from me. He is now converting everyone in the class to atheism. So I was asked to leave, very politely, very nicely, youth group. And then with the help of Martin Mull, Randy Newman, Frank Zappa, the idea that these three men were out of the closet atheists was so inspiring to me and so important to me. And reading interviews with somebody. And I remember being somebody in a religious, and I'm not a religious community like Whack Jobs, but in a community where most everyone was Christian. Having those people in interviews say the simple sentence, "There is no God," meant the world to me, and gave me joy, and gave me passion, and gave me love, and gave me confidence. And I think the first time I was interviewed, as presumptuous as this seems, and please forgive me, I remembered Frank Zappa's interviews, and I wanted to give a chance for someone else reading that to not feel they were alone. Now that's less important now. I mean, the population of atheists in this country is going through the roof. I mean, I'm now on the side that's winning. It's over 20% by some polls. And I believe, if you counted atheism as a religion, it's the fastest growing religion in the history of the United States of America. So now I'm on the team that's winning, which is an uncomfortable position for me. But back, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, it still felt like it meant something. We're several years behind gay rights, but we're following a much faster path at acceptance.
Does anybody know what the fastest growing religion is? I'll ask you once again, what's the fastest growing religion? Answer's simple, it's the nuns. No, it's not the type of nuns that I had. It's the people that check the box that says none, N-O-N-E. And why? People are coming out of the closet. I mean, really. I mean, it's amazing when you really start to think about, you know, what we bought hook, line, and sinker growing up, and what some people still believe. And, you know, what I say is religion is the root of all evil. You know, when you want somebody to believe in something that doesn't exist, that's sad. I mean, and then you perpetuate the hoax, and it's a fraud, and, you know, and I'm going to say this, and there could be some retribution, but, you know, if there was a God, if there really was a God, do you think there would be 20 dead kids in Newtown? Do you think there would be? No, there wouldn't, because God would have stopped it. We got a call. Let's see who it is. Uh-oh, I might have shut him off. All right, whoever it is, if you call back, and I apologize, but, you know, I don't want to be rude, but this thing about God, we just got to stop it. And, you know, I understand. You know, sometimes there's a need. You know, people need compassion. And, but, you know, to make it up this way. Is the caller back on? All right, we got a couple of minutes left, but in the meantime, we've got a couple of shout-outs that we never even quite got to. So let's see if we can take a look at the first one, and I think that's what, camera 3, Judy? Okay, we're trying to do the shout-outs. I think it's on 3. There we go. All right. So anyway, from, let's see. There's an open meeting March 27th at a Common Ground Dance Studio, and it's for Occupy Danbury. You can go on Facebook. On Facebook, it's facebook.com/Occupy314159. I don't know, you'll have to write that code down. I have no idea what that's all about. And that's the only thing that I have here. I don't know if there's another shout out that, oh, the one thing that we always like to do is the shout out for the war veterans, that they do the, over at the War Memorial. There you go. All right, so now we can go back to that, Judy, and we'll throw up camera 3 again if it's focused. And is that the damn, there we, hey! Guys, you have to understand one thing. You know, we're all a bunch of rookies here, but we're making things happen. And this is the first time Judy's been on the control panel. And this is all new for all of us. I mean, downloading videos and trying to get everything to work. It hasn't been easy, but I mean, we've got a good team here. We got my buddy Kurt. He's out there in the control room making things happen. John's on camera today. I don't know where Dave is. I haven't seen him. But, you know, everybody's out here giving 100%. Now, remember, we're going to be on every Monday night from now on at 10 o'clock, so tell your friends. Also, if you'd like to go to Who's Telling the Truth on Facebook, we have a Facebook page, and I'll be putting the videos up. In addition, some people have mentioned to me that you can put up, I'm sorry, we're on YouTube now. If you go onto YouTube, Who's Telling the Truth, there's going to be 3 videos on. The last one, number 6, was the first video that we really were able to use videos on. And then, of course, this one, and we'll be getting better as time goes on. But what you can do is you can go on YouTube, and you can watch the last show that we had, and then you'll be able to download this show as well. And then somebody was telling me, for people that live in different areas, like maybe Southbury, like Southbury might have charter. So what you can do is if somebody's interested in promoting the things that they hear here, what they can do is they can go to their local cable access. You've already got the show. You've got you know, the downloads and everything, so it's an hour show. They can put it on, you can put it on locally, and you know, you can help spread the word that way. Because, you know, I tell you, this is the only thing that I can really think of to try to get the word out. You know, when I first became an activist, you know, like I told you in some of the previous videos, 2 years ago, I didn't know what left and right was. I mean, I don't even know who I voted for. I mean, I can't tell you if I voted for Obama or Bush. All I know is my daughter was driving me crazy with Obama. And, you know, back then, politics didn't matter to me because I was making money, drilling holes, making people happy. And it's only when I couldn't find work, and the reason why I couldn't find work is because there's very little building being done. And what I do for a living, I install central vacs. The lion's share of my work comes in new construction. Well, guess what? When things aren't being built, it's kind of hard for me to put stuff in stuff that doesn't exist. It's kind of like God, you know? If it ain't there, how can you do it? How can you believe in it, you know? So guys, like I said, I don't want to ruffle feathers. I don't want to throw stones. I don't want to make people bitter. All I want you to do is question everything. When somebody tells you something, you want to say to them, where did you hear that? Who told you that? Where are you getting your information? And don't